time. We were having some technical issues. You mind doing roll call?
Absolutely. Ms. Heidi Hensley,
Here.
Ms. Mary P. Bagby, Ms. Linda Davis,
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager,
Here.
Mr. Tim Denson,
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson,
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant, Ms. Nicole Hull, Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, so it looks like we have a quorum and we can proceed with the agenda as presented. So we'll move to item 3, the board president's report. I just have a couple of items, not a whole lot. The first is the retreat, the October retreat that we have every year. And the October retreat will hopefully cover not just things that are happening in the school district and have representatives from the school district give us updates about what's going on, the exciting things that are happening, but we will also hopefully have some conversations about the superintendent search. So if you all are comfortable, the conversation that we had with Dr. Scott, Ms. Palmer, is to perhaps do it on a Friday rather than on a weekend so that the district staff are more easily available to come and do presentations and they don't have to take extra time on the weekend. And we've also had some attendance issues in the past, and that may help solve that problem as well. And the date that we have been discussing, and this is tentative, it's not, we can open the floor for conversation about it, is, I believe it's September 19th. Right? October the 17th, sorry. I'm a month early. October the 17th. That's the tentative date that we discussed with the cabinet for having the retreat. The idea was to do either, 4 or 5 hours in the morning or 4 or 5 hours in the afternoon. And again, over the years that I've sat on the board and we've had these retreats, the biggest concern has been getting attendance for the retreats and having the district also be able to participate. And so, Dr. Scott thought that this might be a good solution to address some of those issues. I'm opening the floor for thoughts. Dr. Yeager?
Just personally, I have a job on Fridays, so I would have to get leave from my job, which seems something we haven't asked people to do before, but or I could take a break, and I have to teach on Fridays for 3 hours. So, it's just complicated. I'm sure I'm not the only one that has a job. So.
Okay, others?
Can we do
I'm
it
sorry,
in, I
Ms.
guess
Davis?
evenings is not an option? I guess that's for the staff, that's not really.
We're open to entertaining
Okay.
any ideas that are amenable for the board. This was sort of an initial conversation based on some of the issues that we've had in the past with getting board attendance at the retreats. So again, this is the initial conversation. We can talk about doing a Friday evening, which we've done in the past. I think several of us remember that. So we could entertain doing, 5 to 9, 4 to 7, something like that, for sure. So, yeah, other thoughts? Ms. Davis? Your mic is on. Is that not? Okay. Ms. Hensley?
Not a total priority, but Clark Central does have a home football game that night at 7:30.
Okay.
So it's a minor priority.
Yeah. Yeah. When
If we did a Friday, maybe 4 to 7 would look really great. People could just take off.
Okay. Others? Other thoughts? Yep. Mr. Evans?
One of the things I think that is that this is one of those things where we're not in trouble with our hours, like in the past. Like, we all have enough hours of continuing ed, so that way we only have to meet for, 3 hours? So, so if we could just find a time that works for everybody, that way we can do the things that we do, and then also we can have, staff come and not have them, waste a Saturday with us, even though we're the coolest people on the planet. And I like spending Saturdays with y'all. They may not, so. But yeah, so I think that's something that we need to kind of think about and consider as we kick this football around.
Okay, Mr. Denson?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, I'm fine with us doing a weekday evening, especially like if it is that shorter time. But I guess, yeah, with the football game, I think that's a good point. So maybe if it was like the Thursday instead, because honestly, I'm gonna have to take off work either way, probably, so a Thursday or a Friday, yeah.
Okay. So I guess moving forward, we can think about perhaps doing a group me poll, Ms. Palmer, and see Thursday the 16th of October or Friday the 17th of October in the early evening for 4 hours. And, just to emphasize the reason why one of the main reasons why we're doing this retreat is not just to get an update of what's happening in the district for the year, so we have a pulse of what to tell our community constituents, but to also talk about the superintendent search. So it's a really important, gathering for us. So, okay, so we'll do a group meet and we'll figure out best times, but yes, we're looking at a weekday evening, and then we'll build the agenda once we've got a date and time confirmed. So we'll circle back in the September meeting. And then my other reports, I think I had 2 more. One, we have added a request for the renaming of the Cedar Shoals baseball field to the President's Board report. And the reason that we added it here is, if you all remember, last year when we had conversations about the policy for renaming facilities, there was a motion made to suspend renaming any facilities until we came up with a revised policy on renaming facilities. And so putting it in the President's Board report opens the conversation for us to decide if we're going to move this item to our regular meeting for a vote. And then again, we will have to suspend our rules because that motion was made last year, number one. Number two, it gives you all the opportunity to speak on whether you want to move this item as a consensus to our regular meeting for a formal vote. So the floor is open. Mr. Evans?
So the ad hoc committee, we met, and Ms. Bonet sent out a revised document on the things that we talked about. The idea of really having this come from the LSGTs, and the LSGTs being the representatives of the community, would hear a presentation from a group, then they would themselves fill out a form that would come to the district. It would go to the superintendent's office. The superintendent would then check it over, and then it would be brought to us. All right. Now one of the things that we talked about is that there are different levels of naming. There's a difference between naming a school, like what we did with Berks and Holston, and the school deciding to name a room, okay? And I gave an example of a loved choir teacher passes, and so they want to they want to honor that person by calling it the Mark Evans choir room or something. And so when Ms. Bonet presents that to us, and we're not getting it this meeting, we're getting it next, right, for the first read? Okay.
Yes, the subcommittee. Yes, the ad hoc committee still needs to review the proposed amendments to the policy before it comes to the full board. So that does not come to us until next month, which is why we're trying to, I wouldn't say circumvent, but we're trying to see if the board feels comfortable with moving this forward for a vote, despite the fact that we have not had the full conversations about the amendments to the policy.
And the reason I brought up all the ad hoc stuff is that the process that Reverend Sandoval and I went through, we did start with the LSGT, and we talked with them, and he presented the case for why Coach Holston needs to, that the baseball field should be named after him, and the principal put that in the weekly announcement flyer or website that they sent out, and and there was no one who had any problems with it. And so if the policy that we had talked about at the ad hoc committee had come through, the next step would have been the principal at Cedar would be writing up that document and sending it to Dr. Scott for review, and then we would take a look at it. Then we would look at it. It would then be put into a press release by Dr. Moore, so that way the community at large would have an opportunity to look at it, and then be able to come in and do public comment on it, and then we would vote on it that next meeting. Reverend Sandoval has done all of these things, and he has been very kind working with me on this as we were trying to navigate the pits of this particular issue. And so I, for one, am all about suspending the rules to rename the Cedar Shoals baseball field. So if you're asking how I'm going to vote, I'll be voting yes. Thank you.
So before we decide if there are going to be any yes or no votes, we need to kind of get feelers for whether or not people are amenable to moving this forward for a vote. Dr. Yeager, I see your mic on. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, I think we spent the large part of last year hearing lots of compelling information about renaming the field after Coach Holston. So, and I feel like there was lots of opportunity for people to say no, 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 no. And so I'm going to vote just fine. This is fine if we want to do this. I've been trying to figure out how we get this off, out of stalled anyway. However, baseball season doesn't start until after the first of the year, right? And the policy is just about ready to go. We're a month away. So I guess it would be okay with me if we also waited till we had the policy in place and we went through the motions that we just discussed and did the vote after the policy was in place. That would be okay with me also, given that it's baseball season is still a few months away.
Okay. As a point of clarification, Dr. Yeager, if we wait until the policy is in place, then that will add more administrative work for the group that are trying to rename this facility. And so I just want to include that in our conversation, that there is an application process and further review that is included in the amended policy that they will then have to comply with.
Okay,
So
I just understood
Yeah.
Mr. Evans to say that most of that had already been carried out, but you're saying it's not.
No. The new policy would have additional paperwork. There would be an application process that would go through the schools, the local school, LSGT, and principals. So they would have to do a little bit more on the administrative side. I don't think, because it's just a facility within the building, it's not as much as if it were, but there's extra hurdles that they would have to cross. Ms. Davis.
So, yes, I think I'm really excited that we can actually now have a process that people can follow, and we know how to best handle that rather than having someone come to us repeatedly, of course, and ask. I guess my question is, what is that timeline? Because we don't do that part. That's going to be administration's responsibility or operations responsibility to give us that timeline from when they get the request to when we can actually see the outcome and the cost involved. I think that's a critical piece of both policies, and we didn't put that in there, but I think that's a part of our operating procedures, our governing standards. So I'm anxious to get it in the hands of the operations and administration so that we can answer this question for the community, whichever way it goes. But I think it's important to not have it be a thing that carries over into 2026. We should be able to get that done this year.
And I think the sentiment is the same for the committee, and I think the sentiment is the same for the district. So I don't think we're not on the same accord with that regard. But the question here right now is, do we want to move this forward, the renaming of the Cedar Shoals baseball field? Do we want to move this item for a vote tonight? That's the question.
I'm in favor of moving it for a vote tonight.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, fantastic. Mr. Denson?
Thank you. So I'm very excited that we have this policy coming forward that's going to be something. I would definitely say that if this isn't a time press thing right now, I don't think it's wise for us to schedule a vote in an hour and a half when it hasn't been publicly announced. I also don't think there's probably going to be a lot of people push back, but I mean, it's situations like that, which is why we created an ad hoc committee to come up with a process. And I know we don't foresee anybody having problems with us doing this, but there's been times before when we didn't foresee something and then somebody gets upset. So because of that, I mean, I would be totally comfortable if we decided to put this on the September voting session and voted on it with the idea that this group has already been going through this process before we create this new process, therefore we shouldn't make them have to go through it, and I'm fine with that, but I still think that it would be smart for us to let the public know that we're voting on this and then vote on it in September instead of in an hour and a half.
Okay. Ms. Bagby and Ms. Hensley, do you have thoughts to share? Yes, Ms. Hensley?
My thoughts are that at this juncture, we should move forward with this. So I'm in favor of actually putting it on in an hour and a half. And I was one of the holdouts the last time because of, I agree, there's been so much conversation about this for so long. I think if the public was not okay with it, I think we would have heard about it. And at this point, I think we should move forward and on.
Okay, Ms. Bagby, would you like to express any thoughts?
If the public has not been aware of this according to the proper procedures, I think we need to allow the public input. But if it's been on the calendar and the public ignored the notice, then I think we can go ahead and vote.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right, so I think what we will do, we'll move it forward for a vote and just let this rest how it will with the will of the board. And the reason why I'm saying that, one is because I listen to my wise, sage VP as much as I can. But two, because it might be good to see where the board lands on this. And if the board does not vote in favor, it means that there's still an opportunity to have another vote on this once the policy is in place. So it's not a dead subject if the board does not vote in favor. it is still an option for the community to explore. So yeah, let's perhaps move it forward and just see what happens. Ms. Davis?
So I remember in our ad hoc committee, we talked about making sure that the public did receive notification that we were going to make this kind of change. So right now, I don't know, we're not operating under that policy because we haven't adopted that policy yet. But I am sensitive to the fact that unless you put things where people expect to see it, kind of like a policy is going to be voted on next month, then there is an opportunity for people to not be aware that it's happening. I can go either way with this. So we can
Okay.
vote tonight, and then we can bring it back for another vote next week if we don't like the outcome, or next month if we don't like the outcome. So,
Okay, all right. Now I'm confused. There's a lot of swinging happening, so I don't know if we'll have the votes, Mr. Evans. So we'll move it forward and see what happens. Based on the current policy as it exists today, they have attended multiple meetings, made multiple comments. They went through LSGT. They did their due diligence, and so let's just see how the vote lands. And they have an opportunity to come back before the board and present their case again. Okay. I don't have any other reports unless, Mr. Evans, you've got something to talk about?
On a personal note, I'd like to thank the board and the superintendent, Dr. Scott, and cabinet for your kind words. My father passed, and thank you for the flowers. I do appreciate that, and the cards, and the calls, and the texts, and listening to me cry on the phone. I do appreciate all of you for that. That's one of the things that makes this community a special place, is that we do care about one another. And so thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Evans, and condolences to you and your family. Yeah, before we move on, I just want to say Happy New School Year. It's going to be an exciting year. And thank you, everyone in the school district, for all the hard work that you've done over the summer and in the first few weeks to get everybody ready for the school year. And it just seems like it has started off on a great start. And as board members, we really appreciate you for all of your hard work. And if any teachers, parapros, custodians, lunch staff, bus drivers are listening right now, we appreciate all of you for all the hard work that you've done to begin our school year on a good note. And that ends my president's report. And we are now going to move over, and thank you, Dr. Scott. And now we're going to move on to item 4, our policy first reads. We have quite a bit, A through N. And all of these, again, are first reads, so they will come back to us for a second read if we have any amendment suggestions. So this is a free-for-all if you've got recommendations. Looking through the questions document this afternoon, I didn't see a whole lot of contention with many of these policies. There were some clarification sort of issues. But, again, this is a work session, so if you've got anything that you'd like to bring up in any of these first reads, please feel free to. Item A is policy GAHB, staff political activities. Any questions, concerns, thoughts? Nope. Oh, Dr. Yeager?
Since this is a public meeting, can we just summarize, like in this one, there were no changes suggested? Just sort of
give a summary of
give
what,
a summary of the changes or no changes? That would
Okay.
be really, I think,
Yeah, sure.
for the TV cameras and whoever's watching.
Okay. So this policy is a policy that is set to expire. We are required as a board to review policies every 5 years. So a lot of the policies that you will hear about tonight are policies that are set to expire for review. I will let you know as a community if there are changes recommended or none. For this particular policy, they were reviewed by Human Resources and our attorney, CCSD attorney, Mr. Pruitt, and no changes were recommended. All right, any thoughts? Nope, okay. Seeing none, we will move on to policy GAC, staff involvement in decision-making. So again, this policy is brought forth for a 5-year review and in compliance with the board's requirement that all policies be reviewed on an ongoing basis. No changes have been recommended to this policy. Are there any questions, thoughts, concerns? Ms. Davis?
I did have I thought I put a question, it was late, but I did put a question in the question doc probably a couple of hours ago, and I can't get there real quickly, but what I couldn't understand is is this policy complementing the current local school governance team, our charter system that we're operating under, because it was established in 1996, and we now have local committees. Local school governance teams are essentially committees, right, in all of our schools. And my question was, does this give permission to allow that to happen, or does it say whether you're a local school governance team or not, that you are now empowering other people to start committees? And if we have, I don't see a connection to how we currently operate in that policy.
So
Because we also eliminated committees for the board.
So this is not specific to LSGTs, it's just in general around the shared decision-making. And so it might also include, in addition to LSGTs, your school improvement leadership team, your student council, as well as at the district level, we have the teacher advisory board, the classified staff advisory board. So it's how are we engaging members of the community to be a part of the shared decision-making that happens within the school district and within the individual schools.
Okay, and so the local school governance teams are not a part of those bodies, and those bodies are not responsive to the local school governance teams because that's like a district-wide thing? Is that what we're talking about in these committees?
It depends. So the local school, this does not negate the work of the local school governance team. These are additional groups that schools might establish. So it basically gives schools the right to establish groups where they are able to gather feedback, gather information. It may be such as your school improvement leadership team, which every school is required to have, which does gather feedback from their staff around decision-making, but then also every school has their student governance team or their principal student advisory team as well. But schools might opt to do a focus group around an initiative that they are looking to implement. And so this policy simply gives them that ability to do that as they are trying to ensure that they're creating spaces for shared decision-making.
Okay. Are there other questions from the board? Okay. All right, seeing none, we will move on to policy C, GBK, professional personnel suspension. Again, this is a first read and is up for 5-year review. It has been reviewed by Human Resources and Attorney Pruitt, and no changes are recommended. Floor is open. I see a mic lit. Oh, okay, never mind. All right, no comments there. Policy GCB, classified personnel positions. This is similar to the last 3. Reviewed by Human Resources Attorney Pruitt, no changes recommended. This is a 5-year review. Okay. Policy GARH on employee leaves and absences. This is a little bit complicated because this is a so-called new policy, but it's actually GBRH that's been turned into GARH because it seemed more appropriate to fit in that space. And some language was added for Georgia Supporting Living Donor Educations Act, which was passed by Georgia Congress this past legislative session and must be included in our policies. So there are, again, a lot of it is repetition of the old policy, potentially the old policy GBRH, but there is some new language on the legislation that was passed last year. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? Okay. So item F is policy GBRH. And this is to rescind this policy because we are moving this policy to GARH and adding some needed language legislatively. Any questions, thoughts, concerns? Okay.
And before we leave that collection of policies, there was an acronym used, PES, whatever, it was like, was it professional? It was an acronym, I can't remember, I looked it up, but could we just, as a habit and as a way of communicating, at least explain the acronyms before we just leave those letters out there in the context of a policy? I can't remember which one it was. It was on the PSERS, yes. And so I don't live in that world, so I had to look it up to know what it was. And a new employee, I think, would have that same concern. If we could do that one, that would be great.
Okay. I don't know if Ms. Bonet is, I'm not telling us to. Okay. Dr. Elder, can those, okay, thank you. Yes, and that is such an academic thing. Like, write it out and then put the acronym the first time you use it. And
It's a corporate thing,
it's a whole
too,
thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we shouldn't have to work that hard to understand it.
Yes, we love alphabet soups, don't we? Okay, any other thoughts, comments, questions? Okay. So now we are at policy GBC, and that is professional personnel recruitment. And this is, again, a 5-year review. No changes are recommended. It was last reviewed in 2020. Any thoughts, comments, concerns? All right, seeing none, I will move on to H, policy GAMA, drug-free workplace. And some changes have been recommended. If you open up the PDF, you'll see where the green is the new language and the pink is the language that is to be stricken, potentially. I had a question, but I added it to the question document today, so I apologize for that. Oh, yeah, because I haven't looked at the document since then.
Mr. Swartz, would you cover that for?
We're just falling in line with the law. So
Okay.
that phrase there that you asked about being taken out, we're following back in line with the law. And I think it was specifically around the probation. I'm not 100% sure, Mr. Pruitt may do that, but there's many times where probation can last an extended period of time. And so I think the law was just saying if we're going to limit to just a minimum of 3 months, then the probation, if we waited, we put in our policy the probation period, then that could then take it to a year longer because they would have to reflect the probation period. So we're trying to, with Mr. Pruitt's help, just align our language to what the law said.
Okay. Were there other questions? Dr. Yeager?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I should have put this in the document, but so there's this new section, and then there's the lawfully obtained drugs section, which is going unchanged. So we're just adding we're not getting rid of the other section because it's still there, it's not red. Okay, so it's
Yeah.
all the other stuff is still in there, it's just been augmented at the top. Okay,
Exactly.
thank you.
Yes.
And is that true for all, I guess I'll get to those when we see the other ones, but it seemed like the other ones, we also had a new big chunk at the top, and then all the other stuff is still in there from before.
That was in white, that you couldn't tell if there were amendments made?
Sorry, I'll just get to those when we get to
Okay.
those. I'll ask those questions when we get there.
Okay.
This one, though, it looked like there was a lot of stuff at the bottom end that we didn't change.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. All right. Seeing none, let's move to policy GBM, professional personnel transfer. So the revisions in this policy will provide clarity about where to find information about the internal transfer period each year and the purpose of having this transfer period. So these revisions are just to add some clarity from the district's perspective on what personnel need to do. Okay, I see no question. Okay, all right, so we are now going to move to policy GAL, salary deductions. Whew, okay. So salary deductions is a new policy to fall in compliance with House Bill 37, notifications of various employee pay withholdings. This bill requires districts to notify employees if they participate in Social Security withholding upon hiring and to notify or re-notify every 5 years. So this policy is going to be an adoption of not necessarily procedures, but it's going to, the adoption of this policy will ensure that the district is able to follow the new legislation on notifying employees of their Social Security withholdings. Whew. Are there questions, thoughts? Dr. Yeager?
Sorry. Doesn't everybody get Social Security withheld from their,
Yeah.
if you live long enough, they stop taking it out? Okay. All right, I'm just curious if there were people you could choose not to have.
I think Dr. Scott has some.
And I'll let you all clarify that, Mr. Swartz, but not all districts. So our district, yes, everyone participates.
Varies from school district to school district. That's just an exemption in the Social Security Act. School employees don't have to participate, so some school districts choose to and some don't.
Well, we got a civics lesson today, so, all right. So do we have questions? Our district participates in Social Security withholding, so they'll just notify everyone every 5 years. Okay. Moving to policy GAEB, sexual harassment of employees. All right. This policy was not revised in 2020. So the recommendation is to just borrow GSBA's policy and model it and try to work with that at this time, and then if we need revisions in the future, do that.
And
Dr. Yeager?
just to clarify, I just noticed that there's a delete all below in green at the bottom of one of the pages before the non-edited text starts, and I just noticed that. It's in green. It says delete all below, so everything that's not green is going to go away, which is fine. So we're just going to adopt the GSBA recommended policy and get rid of everything else.
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Are there other questions, thoughts, comments? Okay. Wow. Now we are at I, policy GAAA, and this is equal opportunity employment. It was not revised in 2020, and once again, we're looking at adopting GSBA's policy recommendations. Ms. Hensley?
So I had some things in the notes, and they got taken care of, which I appreciate. What I'm confused about is that all the white at the very beginning of this policy, does that remain, or is that going away, and now we're just adopting all the green?
Oh, that's a good, okay, so that's where Dr. Yeager's question came in. Can the district help clarify this question? So items 1, 2, 3, and 4 at the top, do they just disappear and then we start at the green? Or is that a preamble? Okay. Okay.
Would you clarify, Mr. Swartz?
I believe that's the case, that we're deleting that top part because it's all included in the green portion. But I'll confirm with
Okay.
Ms. Vaness. Is that right?
Yeah. Okay, so when you read through the green items, they duplicate the white items. So if we were to keep the white as a preamble, you're just basically repeating the stuff that's in green. So that will go away, and it will start at the green, and everything that's in green will be the new
My apologies, I
policy.
think it's,
Oh my
it says,
gosh,
yeah.
I'm confused.
No, it's not repeating. All of the first part stays, that's in white. The last part that's new is the procedures. That's what we're bringing up to date.
Okay. In that case, I do have a question. If all of that is staying, I'm looking at section 2, number 2. No, not section 2, number 1. And it goes back to what I was saying before. Like, and I may be missing something, I may be misreading it, but it says refusing to hire, discharging, or otherwise discriminating against any individual with respect to objective experience, compensation terms, or privilege of employment because of, and that language is left out of that one. And that seems important to me because if that is in our policy, then it doesn't protect the issues that I was raising earlier.
I see that and I agree. I haven't read it since this morning when it was
Yeah.
started on, so I anticipated there might be some things that were overlooked in that, so, and that's probably true of all 4 of these.
Okay. I know it's a first read.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
No, thank you for pointing that out.
Bring it up.
Okay. So if I remember right from your comments, Ms. Hensley, you wanted to include the language, individuals, race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity. All
Yes.
of that needed to be in every.
Correct. And it's
Okay.
in that first part, which seems like a blanket statement. And it's in number 2, where all of those things are identified, but not in number 1, which is the refusing to hire or discharging or otherwise discriminating against. And that seems important. So if we could include that language.
Thank you very much, yeah. Thank you to Ms. Hines for pointing that out. Just for a little more context, this changed in 2020 in response to the Title IX regulations about procedures. And GSBA put this out in September of 2020. In June of 2020, there was a U.S. Supreme Court case that said Title VII covers sexual orientation and gender identity. And apparently, at least at that time, GSBA didn't pick that up for their revision. So I think that's why we have some inconsistencies here, so we'll need to go back and check those.
All right. So it'll come back for a second read with those amendments that you mentioned, Ms. Hensley. Do others have some recommendations for amendments or reviews? Okay. Now we are at M, policy JCAC, sexual harassment of students. And so going from our previous conversation, the white language at the top will remain. And then the green is what's added for procedural purposes or clarity. I'm opening the floor. Ms. Hensley?
These are basically the same for employees and students. Yeah, I was just, as I was reading, I couldn't put it side by side, and I was like, I think, all right, just.
Yeah, and to add some clarity for our viewers, both of you, in 2020, this was not reviewed, and so we're retroactively reviewing it and considering adopting GSBA's policy on sexual harassment of students. Okay, policy JAA, equal educational opportunities. Once again, it was not reviewed in 2020, and the school district recommends adopting GSBA's policy, model policy at this time. And adopting GSBA's model policies, once again, does not mean that we have to stick with it from here until the end of time. This is something that can be amended, reviewed at future dates. So first read, are there any thoughts, any questions, concerns?
I'll add my notes. I had a lot on this one, but I just didn't have time to get them in and make any sense, so I'll add them later to the doc.
Okay. Do you want to present them? No? Okay, cool. All right. I don't see any other, Mr. Denson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. This is just going back to, I guess, trying to get clarification on Dr. Yeager's question, then we kind of went back and said, like, oh, some of these do need to be cleaned up. But yeah, going back to, I guess it's, which one was it? K, that at the bottom of page 6, yeah, it does, it says delete all below, but then at first it was saying that, oh yeah, that was going to delete, but then, so is that? Well, the reason it's odd is because there's changes below that point.
Okay, so this is now, again, a clarification question.
Yeah.
Do we want to wait for Ms. Bones to respond to the board, or does someone in the district want to address this? Okay.
Matt?
Are we waiting for Ms. Bones, or is anyone able to explain the green that she has underneath there and the yellow highlight?
Okay,
Okay.
so just kind of wait? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We can table this and circle back.
And I guess just on if whatever, to make it clear, I think on where it's like everywhere else we have, I guess if we can have the drafts, what is being stricken, have, you know, like we have it normally with the lines through it red, so that it is very clear to us and the public what
Right.
is being stricken. I don't like this delete all below. It's
Yeah.
not how we normally do these things. It's a little bit confusing, so.
It's confusing. It's, yeah, that was what I was going to say, is like, I hope I'll remember, but I would rather see what I've gotten accustomed to, and that is if it's good, green is go and red is gone.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that would help me tremendously.
okay. So let's do this. Let's have a second read. And in the second read, Ms. Bones can just strike the items and track changes so it's very clear what's staying, okay, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead then and move the policies to a second read. That will, because the recommendations that we have are not content related, they are clarity related. It doesn't seem to me like these are things that would require a whole lot of attention on behalf of the district. So if everybody's okay with that, we can just move them forward for a second read. Yeah? Okay, fantastic. So they will reappear in September with some clarity. All right. Now we are at item O, future policies for review from the board. It's been a minute since we met, and so I'm going to admit I did not look at my notes to take a look at what we discussed last year in terms of policies for review. I remember Mr. Denson wanted to bring forward, will you remind me, Mr. Denson?
That was from the previous month, and then they did bring back an update on that, and yeah, so.
Okay, so we're, okay. All right. If anyone does have some and I'll look back through my notes, and if I remember anything from June, I'll send it over to Ms. Bones. But if anyone does have some policies that they would like to bring forward, oh, it was nutrition. It was school nutrition. I remember now. But if anybody does have some policies that they would like to bring forward for future review, now is the time.
So I definitely will, I don't know if we just say it here, do I need to put it on the report, on our Google Doc? Or
You can say it here.
So great. So I would love for us to look at the facilities use and the fees that we charge. And there was an area that came up last year that once we went through the questions and we got the questions answered, we didn't have a response for a policy. And I can't remember the specific, it's like teasing out a detail, but there was one specific thing that we didn't have a policy to address. And I'll go back and look at last year's to see if we can get that on the table.
Okay.
That's the feedback that I'm getting from, pressure that I'm getting from community to say, what are y'all going to do? So like, yeah, something dealing with facilities.
Okay. If you don't mind, Ms. Davis, so that the district is kind of really clear on what they're, what.
Yeah, I'll give you the date. It's actually in the Google Doc from last year, but I noticed this school year, we started a new page in the Google Doc, and I
Yes.
didn't see anything that was unresolved from last year brought forward. So this
Okay.
would be one of those.
Okay. All right, so the facilities use policy. Others? Okay. All right, so we are now at item 5, business items for discussion for the consent agenda. And as usual, I will just call it out, and if you have questions or you want to pull it from the consent agenda, please be very clear so we can address those. Item A, June 12th, 2025 work session and board meeting minutes.
Consent?
Okay. Item B, field trips.
Point of information, really quickly, Madam President.
Yep.
So when I was looking at the field trips, I noticed that the Odyssey field trip was, they had it that they were going to Philadelphia, but they're not going to Philadelphia, they're going to Nashville. They changed everything and everything's good to go, but I probably wasn't the only one who caught that. So I just want to make sure that everyone know that they, that they did find that error.
Okay. And there's also a trip to like the Philharmonic Opera House, isn't there?
The Bernie Harris Lions Orchestra will be going to Carnegie Hall.
Carnegie Hall, that's what
play
it
in
was.
Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, exciting. All right, so field trips were good, consent? Awesome. Item C, Foothills FY26 Collaborative Operating Agreement.
I'd like to take that off consent.
Okay, taken off consent. Are there issues that you would like the district to think through before our meeting?
Well, a lot of it, again, the what is it, our gifted investment initiative was one thing, but I wanted to just get clarification on when a student enters Foothills Academy, do they cease being our student, and do they then become a Foothills Academy student?
Yes, please.
So it depends. If they are going for credit recovery, they remained our student while also going through the credit recovery program at Foothills, and that's where we, as a school district, would then be billed by Foothills for that. But students also have the option to unenroll from Clark County and fully enroll as Foothills students.
So if the student is there for credit recovery, then they would be counted with their originating high school.
Correct.
That was one question I had, and there were some others that just, I didn't get to write them down. Sorry, I took vacation last week, so trust me, this was a quick review of what's on this agenda tonight, but yeah.
Okay. Before we get to the vote this evening, do you want to have a conversation with the district to maybe give them a heads up on the questions that you will have at the board meeting?
Yes, if we have time in between.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Other questions? No? Okay. So that item is pulled, Ms. Palmer. Next is the federal program allocation for FY 2026. Okay, that was a pleasant surprise. Oh, Ms. Davis, did you have a question? Okay. I love the aggressive, that was, okay. Next is the capital outlay application for Gaines Elementary.
So, Madam President, we do need to pull that one. It cannot be voted on in consent because we do need to vote on that separately to approve the application for capital outlay, and then following that, approve the construction contract for Gaines Elementary. So
Okay.
both of those would need to be voted on separately.
Okay. All right, so we are pulling items F and item E and item F. Okay. Are there any questions, though?
And what about G?
Okay, G can stay in consent. So it's the capital outlay application and the construction contract, or the renovation contract. Are there questions, though? It's being pulled for procedural reasons, but do you all have any issues behind? Okay. All right, so now we are at item G, special inspections contract for Gaines Elementary.
I'd like to pull that. I'd love to have a discussion about, again, just how the contracts are going now.
Okay. And at our, at our agenda building meeting, we did have a conversation about the team being prepared to talk about the disparity study and how they're addressing some of the issues that were brought up with these bids.
That would be good.
So they will be prepared
Excellent.
to do that. Okay, now we are at H, pass-through refrigerators and heated coolers for Clark Central and Holston Elementary. Okay. And item I, Advanced Care Partners, and, okay, yeah, Advanced Care Partners. I knew it.
Yeah, and based on the same thing about like just our contract and stuff, this is just like a renewal. And just my questions are, should we, put this out for bids so that we can have others be able to apply and not just be renewing the contracts over and over again once we've seen that our process has been flawed in the past. So.
Okay. So is that noted? So that's going to be pulled, and then just kind of responding to that question? Okay. And, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Bagby?
When Mr. Griner and the other financial person gave us the financial report for the fiscal year for 25, 26, didn't we vote on all these things concerning construction, renovations, air conditioning, refrigeration, and all these things? Didn't we vote to approve that during that session in June?
And did we vote to approve
We
all of these
approved the fiscal-
projects?
So why, I don't understand why we're going back through passing through the refrigerations and the heating and the cooling and all these things, because these are supposed to be, was supposed to have been in the budget for the 25, 26 school year.
Right, so they are included in the budget, but any expense that the district incurs that is over $50,000 always has to get approved by the board, whether or not it's in the budget. It always comes before the board for individual vote if it exceeds $50,000. So it's sort of like a double stamping. Does that answer your question, Ms. Bagby?
That's fine.
Okay. And I think it also helps the community be sure that the board and the district are in accordance with the bids that are recommended by the district. So when it's approved in the budget, it doesn't mean that the construction firm has been identified and the personnel that will work on it. None of that has happened yet. So it gives the board an opportunity to vote on how they're going to move forward with that budget item, if they're going to approve that construction firm or the personnel that have put out bids. Does that make sense?
And Madam President, I want to let John Gilbert give a little bit more information as well, because all of this doesn't come from general fund either.
Yes, these projects are funded from SPLOST, so SPLOST 6 funding will pay for these projects. That's why we bring them to you.
Okay. Are there other questions? Okay. All right, so we are now at item 6 with personnel. We've got A, which will move forward, and then we've got B, which is the job description for the sustainability coordinator. I'm opening the floor for thoughts. Yes, Dr. Yeager?
I hope it was okay. I shared this with my colleague at UGA Sustainability Office, and he said it looked great, so great job.
Okay.
He also said let him know as soon as it's posted, and he will make sure we have good candidates.
Awesome. Other thoughts? Questions? Ms. Davis?
I'm happy to see the job description. It was very much inclusive, and it kind of gave me an idea of the scope of the work that's going to be happening there. And I see opportunities there. Thank you.
Right, others? Okay. All right, so, so now we are, wow. Okay, now we are at item C. So if you all remember, of course you do, we had a presentation done by GSBA to conduct the superintendent search. If you, the audience, remembers, we voted on an interim superintendent, but that does mean that between this point and at some point in the near future, we are going to have an official superintendent. So having had that presentation, we are now required to have a discussion before the community and the audience to decide how we are going to move forward, if we are going to utilize GSBA for a superintendent search and what that process will look like, or if we've had a change of heart, or if we want to try to find some other firm. Where does the board stand on this position, having had that presentation in June? So I will open up the floor for a discussion. Mr. Denson?
I thought the presentation from GSBA looked thorough and hit a lot of the concerns that I had, and I was hoping that we could do. It seems like it's something that, process that we can help shape to fit our needs, so I'd be happy to move forward with them.
Okay.
Especially unless, I'm happy to hear other alternatives, but I have not really heard a serious alternative brought forward, so.
Okay. All right, others, Dr. Yeager?
Yeah, I agree. I was impressed with the presentation. I also, in addition to what you just said, would add that it seemed like they were really good about making sure we were in line with Georgia laws and Georgia requirements and making sure that everything fit within that sort of framework. And it seems like not everybody's going to be that careful about Georgia framework. So anyway, I was really impressed that he kept tying it back to what's required and what we need to do here in Georgia. And so I'm on board.
All right, Ms. Davis?
So I'm not sure if we can I assume we can arbitrarily decide that we want to pick someone, but I thought this was a competitive process, and I don't know if we're required to have competitive bids and hear from other people as well.
We're not.
So that piece is, I guess, still in my mind. I don't have that settled, but I do feel good that we are looking at conducting the search. I think the feedback that we got in the past was, you never gave anybody else a chance. You didn't look to see what was out there. So I do want to satisfy my constituents who are absolutely demanding that we not just make a decision based on a recommendation without, again, looking for allowing ourselves to examine what we're looking for and making that best decision so that it can be not questioned, for lack of a better word.
Mm-hmm. And can I ask a follow-up, Ms. Davis? Would you be in support of moving forward with GSBA, or would you want to hear from other
If we are not
firms?
required to put this search out
We
for
are
a competitive
not.
bid, and if we're not, and then absolutely, I love GSBA. We have ignored them for the last 5 searches that I've been a part of.
Okay. All right, Ms. Bagby?
So does the public know about the deadline for the people to apply for this position? Has it been publicized in a deadline? Like, has it been put in the legal organ, the newspaper, the radio, and television that this position is available and the deadline for the applications to be submitted?
No, ma'am, we have not initiated any of that. The conversation right now is to decide how we're going to move forward. And if we do initiate a collaboration with a search firm, then we would work with that search firm to establish the announcement, set the date for when it goes out to the public, and all of that. If we do not decide to initiate a collaboration with a search firm, then internally we would decide how to move forward. But no announcements have been made at this time because we have not decided as a board how we want to move forward.
So if we use a search firm, does that mean no one applies? Does that mean it's closed and the search firm
No, ma'am.
decides who gets the job?
No, ma'am. The search firm would open it to a national search, and they would also, as they said in their presentation, they would also use different associations across the nation to advertise the position as well. But the announcement would be open to the entire public, and anyone who wants to apply could apply.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And so I guess my follow-up question to you, Ms. Bagby, would be how you would like, or what your thoughts are on how we move forward. Would you like for us to partner with, or talk about partnering with GSBA, look at another firm, or do something internally in-house amongst the board? We have free will to do any of those options. Ma'am, can you turn on your mic? I'm sorry.
I think it should be open to any and everyone that wanted to apply, and
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily have to be a particular search firm that go out to look for someone.
Okay. Okay. Ms. Hensley?
Yeah, I probably fall in a different place. If I had my preference, I would say we did it internally. But if I'm going to support a firm doing it, I do not want an outside firm, some individual outside firm. I would prefer it to be GSBA. I do think we have the capability of doing it internally, but if everybody feels like we need help in that area, like nationally help, then I will support that and go down that road. But I definitely would rather it be GSBA than a private firm.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Evans?
Well, I'm kind of with you a little bit, in that if it's got to be somebody, it needs to be GSBA, but so like we had the start of school this week, and the start of school this week was just as exciting as the start of school was last year. And the start of school the year before that. And that's because we have a consistent plan. We are in the middle of a 5-year plan. And my fear is that we're going to bring in someone, possibly, who is going to decide that, well, that's not my plan. That was Hooker/Scott's plan. That's not my plan. And then we're going to have to sit here and go through all this stuff while we lose another round of kids to another thing. Like we're seeing real progress. We're seeing real results. And I'm torn because I'm the guy who's been saying to everybody, past isn't prologue and things like that. But I just don't want us to feel like we're moving forward when we're actually going backward by initiating another new plan. So, yes, I'm all for GSBA to come in, but, I'm going to be really looking at these folks, and one of the things that I'm going to say is like, we're in the middle of a 5-year plan. And that's the plan that we as a board have told our one employee, that's the plan that we're going to go with. And so, but again, we have lots of time for y'all to take me to breakfast and change my mind. But yeah, so that's just been my thought on it.
So
Thank you.
my mic is actually open. It's a question. I didn't forget to turn it off this time.
Ms. Davis?
Thank you. So again, 3-4 search firms, right? Since I've been here in my 12 years, and we own the plan. They don't bring the plan to us. None of them do. They're facilitators. And so we tell them what we want. They do what we ask them to do. And so I don't want anybody to feel like GSB is going to do a national search too. Yeah, how are you going to discriminate, right? But anyway, so that's not going to be the thing. If our criteria, we set the criteria for what we're looking for in the superintendent. We set the criteria with the superintendent in terms of how we want the district to continue for the next 5 years. So I don't want us to mix the two up. We are doing the search for the superintendent, and it gives anybody that's applying an opportunity to think through who we are and what we're doing, and are they a good fit for us. And our job is to pick that person that's the best fit for us. They are not going to dictate to us who we hire. And so we don't need to say, oh, those people. Yeah, we want people from Georgia because we're from Georgia. But that didn't stop them from bringing candidates from Georgia, other search firms either. So the challenge here is for us to decide, what is it that we are looking for to lead this district to where we believe it should go and can go. And we're the ones who would make the decision along with that superintendent that we hire, whether we stay on this plan or if it's time to move to another plan. That's their job, is to give us that recommendation. So I want us to make sure that we stay focused on being able to articulate what we are looking for in a superintendent. And my constituents don't have any trouble telling me what they want, right? And I'm sure yours don't either, but yeah. It's a process.
Okay. All right. I think everyone has had an opportunity to share their thoughts. It's looking pretty split. It's looking pretty split because I'm sort of with Ms. Hensley and Mr. Evans. I was part of the last superintendent search, and it was a really controversial and heavy decision to bring on Dr. Hooker. And I know that it divided the community, and I actually had a constituent come to the board meeting and said, and this is loosely paraphrasing, you're going to split this community down the middle. And, but I think as a board, this is one of the biggest responsibilities that we have. And as a board, we collectively have taken this very seriously. We took it seriously for the last 2 superintendents that we've had. And with Dr. Hooker, one of the major issues was the 5-year strategic plan and the major changes that were made to literacy education across the entire district, the major decisions that were made to personnel. There were a lot of changes that were made under Dr. Hooker that were all part of Dr. Scott's vision as well. And as a public health professional in the past and an educator now, one of the failures in our public infrastructure is that we give up on a bright idea when we don't see immediate results. It's been 2 years, and now we want to consider changing course and starting all over. We haven't even given it enough time to see how this is all going to unfold and what sorts of advancements that we're going to see in literacy education in this district, given the changes that were done under the leadership of Dr. Hooker and Dr. Scott. And so my personal thoughts on this are to seriously consider continuity in leadership and try to think about a 5-year vision where we can actually measure whether or not these major changes that we struggled through 2 years ago will give us the changes that we really thought about, discussed, and wanted when we brought Dr. Hooker on, and he made Dr. Scott his chief. So that's where I am. I am a staunch believer in continuity for change. So I think we're kind of split here. It seems like a 3-4 type of thing, and we are missing a couple of board members. And I just, yeah, Dr. Yeager.
I'm confused. You're talking about candidates, and I'm talking about process.
And I'm talking about process as well.
There was no process before we decided on Dr. Hooker. We were doing it ourselves, and it was chaos. There's no way I'm going to do that again. No way. I went away to Antarctica for 3 months, and I came back, and it was still in chaos. No, we should not do that. We need to get someone with structure and frameworks, and if Dr. Scott applies, and we decide to hire Dr. Scott, that would be awesome. But let's have a process. Let's have an open process. That's what's going to keep the community from being split, is having an open process that's completely transparent. And that's what GSBA is offering us, with structure and deadlines, time points that you two don't have to control, you don't have to manage. Let them help us do this well, so that when we land, if we land on Dr. Scott, it's been a process that everybody is proud of and happy with. And it's been transparent. We're not in a back room deciding, which we have the right to do. We totally have that right. But I don't think it was a good, I mean, and it turned out great, but I don't think it was a good process. That's my opinion.
Okay. So Ms. Bagby?
Well, I want to know whose fault is it that we don't have continuity? Because if we do it by due process, we should have continuity. We've had people resigning, retiring, and everything else. No one is staying and being committed to the time frame that they swore that they would commit to. Even this position that I'm sitting in right now proves that there was no due processes here for the last 7 or 8 years. So continuity comes with people doing things fair and just and according to due process. And that's going to cause us to have continuity. But it has not been practiced. Due process has not been practiced here. And so it's not the public's fault that it's divided or upset or anything else when they see things that's being done publicly wrong and discriminatorily. Thank you.
Okay. Are there other questions? Are there other thoughts? So, yeah, it looks like it's a pretty split decision. I don't know how the other 2 board members who are not here would land. I guess what I'm hearing is we initiate a conversation with GSBA to establish a contract to move forward with a search. And that's that. Mr. Denson.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we wanted to, we could take a step back, because it sounds like what the split here is, do we want to do a search or not? Not if. I mean, that's why I was hearing the concerns it wasn't about GSBA, it was that some of y'all don't want to do a search. And if that's the, I thought I did think we had already had that conversation. And so that's why, and I agree with the continuity. I mean, I think that's a major strength. And if Dr. Scott applies, I think that would be a major strength for her as a candidate within whatever search we do. But I think all of the points that y'all are speaking of the continuity, that doesn't go out just because we do a search. I think that is just something that gives weight to Dr. Scott in that search. And yeah, my thing is that I want us to be able to, no matter what, be able to stand by our process and say, yeah, we picked this, we picked Dr. Scar, we picked whoever it was, by going through a thorough, transparent process that the public was very aware of and had plenty of input on. And so, I guess if we want to have that, maybe we just need to have the conversation again if we're going to have a search or if we're just going to select somebody.
And, well, what I'm hearing over, above all of the sort of like, you know, split, some people have like split thoughts on it. But even the people that have split thoughts on it, and the reason why I said perhaps we should just go ahead and move forward with initiating GSBA, is even the people who have a split thought on keeping it internal or doing something else are saying, well, let's just do GSBA or internal. So there seems to be more of like a leaning towards, let's go ahead and initiate this relationship, this collaboration with GSBA.
So I would say definitely, we don't want to manage that position, period. I don't think that's what we do as board members. We need to hire a professional firm that comes in and leads us through that process. There's no way that we could do that without bias.
Yeah.
And so we definitely need to have it done by a facilitated group that does this for a living. And again, we will be the authors of what that search looks like. They will give us examples, and honestly, I've not had a problem with the process that we've gone through regardless of who we hired, because it's the same. It's like, what are your stakeholders? What do you want to see happen? What are some things that we need to look for? You know, how do we define this? And it always comes out the same. I actually looked at the spreadsheet from the first one that we did that got us someone who wasn't allowed to stay here. And it's exactly the same. The community wants exactly the same thing that they wanted then. So their needs haven't changed. They are all about educating our kids. So the process has to be managed by someone so that we can give our full attention to defining what we want and being able to support our views on that.
Okay.
I think.
Okay, understood. So I am happy to go with the will of the board. So Mr. Evans will move forward with initiating.
We have to vote for that, ma'am. So it needs to go on, we need to put that in on business. So
Okay.
that way we can vote for it and then.
Okay. So what we will move forward for our business meeting is for Mr. Evans to, and myself to reach out to GSBA to have continued discussions about a collaboration for the superintendent search. Once that vote happens at our regular meeting tonight, we will push the green button, and that's going to be it. Okay? All right. Okay. So now we are at item 7, executive session.
Can I just have a clarification on the vote? Are you voting to approve GSBA as the search?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's the
Yep,
okay.
that is the vote. And we'll just see how it lands. Okay, so now we are at item 7 for executive sessions. Superintendent Scott, do you have any items to discuss for executive session? Just give me 1 second. All right, so we are now going to move on to item 8, to adjourn, and we will reconvene at 7 o'clock for our regular board meeting. Thank you, everyone. Thank you much for, thank you so much for your patience. Took a couple of minutes for us to scarf down some dinner before starting the board meeting after our work session. All right, we are ready to get started with our August regular board meeting. And if Superintendent Scott, you mind taking roll call?
Absolutely. Ms. Heidi Hensley,
Here.
Ms. Mary P. Bagby, Ms. Linda Davis,
Here.
Dr. Patricia Yeager. Here. Mr. Tim Denson,
Here.
Dr. Mumby Anderson,
Here.
Dr. Lakeisha Gant, Ms. Nicole Hull, Mr. Mark Evans.
Here.
All right, it looks like we have a quorum, and we continue with the agenda as presented. Item 3 is for our silent meditation and Pledge of Allegiance. We'll begin with the silent meditation with about 15 seconds or so, and then we'll move into the Pledge of Allegiance. And our flag is up here in the front to your left. Okay, and if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, okay. Okay, and now we are ready to move forward with item 4, and that's our public comment. So for this public participation, we've got a few people who have signed up. And just as a reminder to the public, we did make some amendments to public comment policy last school year. So people who want to make public comment are welcome to wait until they come to the board meeting. And we will keep the public comment sign-up sheet at the front until right before the board meeting starts, and then we'll take it up. So if you don't want to email or call in advance, you are welcome to come to the board meeting and sign up day of, right before the board meeting, up until right before the board meeting starts. So we will begin our public comment with Reverend Sandoval.
Good afternoon. Dr. Scott, Dr. Anderson, and board members. Come tonight to discuss the matter, and we're most appreciative for you all putting it back on the agenda to name the City Shows baseball field after Coach James Holston. We know it's been a long time, but I'm reminded that race is not given to the swiftest, nor the fastest, but the one that holds on and endure to the end. So we come to say thank you for your consideration, and we hope that you all will adopt it and approve it tonight. And it's been a long time, but I'm glad we're here. And thanks to everyone. And I actually want to thank the Vice President for getting it over to this point, and I also want to thank Ms. Palmer. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Anthony Pittman.
Good evening. Good to see y'all once again. Dr. Scott, congratulations on your appointee. Just want to say, once again, I come on the behalf of Coach James Holston, reminded that we wanted to put his name on Cedar Shows baseball. He has meant a lot to the community. Also, if I'm not mistaken, he actually started the baseball situation at Cedar Shows for us when we didn't have a field like we have now, when we done the raking. He was out there planting the grass and raking. He had us out there raking too, but it meant that much to him, and it meant a lot to us. as alumni. But we just want to say thank y'all for putting this on the agenda and putting this under serious consideration. I know it would mean a lot to the school and the community, and that's what we're all about, the community. And I just want to thank y'all for what y'all do for the Clark County school system, and we pray that everything goes well this year and that everything will be productive, and thank you for the work that y'all put in. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Jamie Mays.
Good evening, y'all. The main benefit to the charter system contract is that it empowers communities to take ownership of their schools. It is the responsibility of the school district to not only train them in the processes of local governance, but also to ensure these teams are fully informed, empowered, and supported. We've lost a lot of qualified, smart, and engaged LSG team members to disillusionment and apathy, but by moving governance under James Barlament's leadership, I've seen great improvements in how the district supports LSG teams, but it's time for something more. In Section 16C of our current charter system contract, it says, "The governing council at each charter system school shall be subject to the control and management of the local board." I'm asking that this Board of Education exercise the power given to it by the state of Georgia and work with district leadership to build systems that expand support and capacity for local school governance teams. I'm asking for this Board of Education to champion the establishment of a district governance advisory board composed of members from each LSG team across the district, and not only engage directly with these members, but create space for them to connect and collaborate. These LSG team members should be participating democratically in the processes of editing their own bylaws, proposing changes to operational support for their teams, and getting meaningful face time with decision makers. You create leaders by empowering people. It's time to create more leaders in our LSG teams. I'm asking that the board hold the superintendent accountable for communicating how innovation funds are being used at every school. We should have updated lists that show how each of our schools are spending their innovation funds each year. I'm asking that the board ask the district to develop a system to clearly and effectively outline the various waivers that they filed with the state under the charter system agreement. As someone who considers herself very informed, I don't have a clue how or if any of our schools are choosing to be flexible in accordance with the charter system agreement. I'm asking that we don't enter into another 5-year charter agreement unless the district is able to adequately, efficiently, and authentically support the local school governance teams at each school. This agreement with the state gives us more funding as a charter system, but only under the condition that the district yields more district-level input to local LSG teams. It's the democratic thing to engage these LSG team members in more district-level decisions. Please use this time to call for some higher standards for local school governance in CCSD. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ms. Johnny Leigh Burks.
Good evening. The past, the present, the future. My name is Johnny Leigh Burks, and I'm a proud retiree of CCSD. I was approved by 31 majority white Clark County Boards of Education for employment as a teacher 7 times and as a guidance department administrator 24 times. I represent the unifying past. You are the 2025 school board, so you are the present, and your job is to, what I just heard you discuss, hire and evaluate the superintendent, update policies according to the law, approve the budget. So please don't use your position on the board as a stepping stone to the governor's office or the Clark County mayor's office by trying to manipulate policies and jeopardize our accreditation again to satisfy a small minority from darker days. And welcome to you, Dr. Jennifer Scott, our interim superintendent. Facility naming policies. Your present policy is in effect until a new one is approved. The school board attorney is present at all meetings to provide legal guidance. Board member David Nunley and French teacher wife Eileen are honored in the lobby for their years of service. Vernon Payne Board Meeting Room, extraordinary service. Johnny Leigh Burks Elementary School, life-threatening danger service. Dr. Maxine Easom Elementary School, whenever it's built. The Charles Worthy Administrative Wing at the Cedar Shoals High School, and so on and so on and so on. Your job as the current BOE is to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. And then post what you have added and subtracted and divided. When the period expires, you, the Board of Education, votes. Whatever passes is the future policy. Please do not include racial hatred and divisiveness. 4 elementary, 2 middle, and 1 high school fell within the lowest percentile of Georgia schools using the College and Career Ready Performance Index, according to the Athens Banner Herald, December 11, 2024. You passed the tax allocation district, transferring hundreds of millions of dollars from the CCSD education budget to finance the redevelopment of the Georgia Square Mall for over 30 years on the backs of struggling schools. Please find the money to support any innovative programs Dr. Scott and her team recommends to make student achievement, safety, and emotional development a priority. You were not drafted. You ran for your seat on the Board of Education. You said you were ready on day one. Let's move forward together, and I thank you all for your service.
Thank you. And we have one last presenter or comment, and it's Ms. Aurelia Scott.
Good evening. I was told to get up, to stand up, and to speak up by a gentleman that was a portion of my milestones in history commemoration committee. I'm Aurelia Scott, 22-year educator here in this county, and I've been before the board before, twice with the information going forth about the naming of schools for these beautiful educators. They're my friends, yes, but they did the work, and they did the work in perilous times. And we're glad that you did honor them in the way that you did. But in reading in the newspaper, I learned that we had people that are bewildered. They don't feel good about what has happened, I guess. The naming of the schools, I've heard rumors that there are children that are writing about these things in essays and in different ways, and things are coming out about all kinds of things. But I was startled, really, when, because everybody had a chance to say whatever they wanted to say when these things were brought forth. We didn't cut any corners. We did everything that we were told to do. Now, several members came forth, said what they thought, and we were glad of that. Some came forth and said, you know, do it a certain way. We did what we had to do, but we did everything decent and in order. Now, I was a student of civil rights, I'll say it that way. During that time, you know, I felt the racism. I marched with King and with the rest. And at that time, I know Miss Johnny Leigh Burks did also in Atlanta. I am bewildered because I hate for gender and race to play on a portion of these things, but I have a distinct feeling that that might be what has happened. I'm bewildered because of the news and saying that the board wants the policy changed and that kind of thing. It sounded to me as if we were having something. The in-house committee, they said, wanted to take things away from us. I'm bewildered because things need to be done decently in order. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other individuals signed up, so that is the end of public comment, unless there's someone in the audience who wishes to speak. Okay, so that concludes our public comment for tonight, and thank you all for coming and speaking your truth. We will move forward with the item 5 to amend or adopt the agenda as presented.
I so move.
Okay, motion made.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Davis and seconded by Dr. Yeager. All in favor of adopting the agenda as presented, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Item 6 is our superintendent's report. Dr. Scott?
Thank you, Madam President. The 2025-2026 school year is off to an amazing start. So we welcomed all of our staff back at our Convocation 2025 on July 30th. Highlights from that day include 2 of our students who were speakers. That's Riley Hughes, a 6th grade student at Hillsman Middle School, and Callie Foster, a 5th grade student at Barnett Shoals. We also welcomed our keynote speaker, Adam Welcome. Our staff had a chance to attend the vendor fair where they were able to connect with our sponsors, nonprofit partners, as well as some local businesses. And then they took part in breakout sessions. There were over 80 breakout sessions available to staff members so that they would have an opportunity to choose topics that align with their personal interests as well as professional goals. So it was a great day, and we do owe a special thank you to our sponsors who collectively contributed more than $46,000 to support the event. I am also pleased to share that nearly all classroom positions are filled. Only 5 teacher vacancies and 7 paraprofessional vacancies remain, which allowed our schools to be fully prepared to welcome our 12,647 students. The first week of school was filled with excitement. Students were greeted by staff and community organizations. So we are thankful for those faith-based organizations as well as community partners who have committed to annually being there on the first few days of school to greet our students, to wish them well, and provide them with words of encouragement. Our seniors at all 3 high schools were thrilled to learn that they each will receive a $1,000 investment portfolio from Gifted Savings. And on Friday, August 8th, yes, just the 3rd day of school, all of our second graders in the district experienced a magical day at the UGA Stegman Coliseum where they took part in the Let the Big Dog Read rally. They were welcomed and greeted by UGA student athletes. They enjoyed a magic show which featured scenes from Malcolm Mitchell's book, The Magician's Hat, and the event ended with a read aloud by the author himself. Every child left that event with their own personal copy of his book. So we are wrapping up this exciting first 2 weeks with the Classic City Championship football game on Saturday at Cedar Shoals at 3 p.m. And lastly, I have provided for each of you at your seats a copy of Hardwiring Excellence in Education, which is the book that our principals will be reading as a part of our book study for this year. So that concludes our superintendent's report.
Thank you. That's all really exciting news. I personally had a 2nd grader who went to that event, and oh my goodness, couldn't stop talking about it. All right, let's see. We will move forward now to item 7, our facilities update. We'll start with A, our SPLOST report. Mr. Gilbreth.
Good evening, board members. We'll do an update with photos tonight. First on the docket is Clark Middle. We've got some photos that have taken of new gymnasium. As you can see here, an aerial drone photo of the front entry area with the, you know, ample parking. And it looks like we're at student pickup in the afternoon. This is just a shot of the concession area outside of the gymnasium. This is a shot inside one of the clinic spaces, the UGA clinic that is housed within Clark Middle. An exam room as well. And I guess the front vestibule entry area of Clark Middle. And I'm proud to announce that last week or this week or Saturday, they mounted the solar panels. So hopefully we should start generating some power here within a week. And we'll kind of get you some updates and some information, as well as the ability to log on and see in real time the power that's generating during the day. It's just some shots of them doing that, the aerials. And so that pretty much, as far as Clark Middle, we've wrapped up over there. They're in, you know, we still have, you know, there may be an occasional punch list item or something that pops up from a warranty standpoint, but, you know, once the solar's done and operating, we should be done there, and that'll be complete. Any questions on Clark Middle? Okay. Next one, Cedar Shoals. So here's an aerial shot of Cedar. If you notice all the nice, shiny, black new asphalt, we completely repaved all of Cedar Shoals. That was a monumental undertaking, and I appreciate the staff and the contractor and everybody for working through that. We had football practice, we had senior pictures, we had a lot of things going on while we were trying to pave that parking lot, so it was pretty involved. Here you see a shot of the football field that's been completely redone and resodded. Glad to say we're in shape for the game on Saturday, so sound system's up and working, scoreboard's operational, we're good to go. Also, softball has been done. I think they had their first game on Tuesday, and I believe there's a game tonight we're missing, but so their softball's in and functioning. Last of the fields is baseball, and we're working on that. Should have that done by the end of the month. This is a shot of the auto shop. It's a 3D camera. If you haven't been to the new auto shop, I think you really need to go over there and see it. It's state of the art. We have 7 bays to service vehicles. Mr. Darden, he's looking for more students because he's got such community interest to bring vehicles over there. He's backed up, so it's just like any typical auto shop. You know, kind of take a number and wait, but he's really happy, and I think the community is definitely getting a benefit from that, as are the students. This is a shot of a 3D camera, or a 360 camera of the new gymnasium and the logo. Draco he's thrilled to death, and they can't wait to get in there at basketball season. This is the new front entry lobby. We're still waiting on some interior doors, but if you haven't been there again, we separated the lobby for security purposes, separating students and visitors. So I think that's going to make the school function and be a lot safer. This is the outdoor seating area. One of the items that they had requested was more capacity for seating. So we expanded the cafeteria of 1,000 square feet on either side, and we have the outdoor seating area that the students are able to go out at lunchtime as well. The auditorium completely renovated, new seats, new carpet, new LED lighting system, sound system, and I think we're waiting for the curtains to come in, and we should be finished there. And this is outside in the Fine Arts Building, just some of the detailed floor graphics that were put in. And you have I guess a indicator in each classroom, whether it's drama, art, dance, that kind of thing, that indicates you're entering that space. So that was our photo. Oh, last is the warehouse, not least, but last. So we're kind of getting the interior space fitted up. Electricians are working, and we're actually using that space now as overflow as we get books and supplies in for the start of school. And one thing that's coming to you tonight is the construction contract for Gaines Elementary. So what I wanted to show you is kind of what we were doing overall. Gaines is at capacity with their current students. We actually have a homeroom outside and a 6 classroom modular unit. So there is a need for an expansion at Gaines. So you see the big rectangular area on the left, that's a new wing at Gaines to capture more classrooms, and we're adding 2 classrooms on the ends of each of the existing wings. It was important for them to be able to have all the homerooms together on the same grade level, the same wing, so that's why we're doing the expansions there as well. This is just one of the challenges that we have at Gaines. There's an existing sewer line that feeds Hillsman and the adjacent neighborhood that we have to relocate first before we can start the addition. So that's one of the first things we're going to work out with the principal, and to make sure that we have construction fencing up and safe for the students and staff while we do this work. I think that wraps up the SPLOST update for tonight. Any questions?
All right, anyone have questions?
I don't
Ms.
have any
Davis?
questions, but I do have to tell you that I am excited that people absolutely love Clark Middle School. I was excited to see the baseball field that we'll be talking about at some point later on today. That really, it looks so much better than it did before all of this started. And one question is, what is the seating capacity in the auditorium now?
I think we're up to about 400 students.
That's encouraging. So thank you so much. I love what's happening. I like the outdoor seating. I like giving people some choices. So thanks.
Okay, other questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gilbreth. Are you going to stick around for the COC?
Yes.
Okay, then go ahead and get started.
All right, we had a meeting this week, this Tuesday, and kind of ran through basically the same update that you get in about 5 or 10 minutes. We spend an hour and a half to 2 hours going over, so it's very detailed. They had a lot of questions on the sustainability coordinator position, and we answered those. And we gave an update on the electric buses. I forgot that to tell you that. The buses are operational. We are using them on routes. They're charging them midday, and I think Mr. Gurley has those kind of spaced out to where, you know, we're trying to track the data and see how they're functioning and what the limits are and what they can do. So we'll get some more data that we can present to you probably at the next meeting and give you an update.
Okay, other questions? Okay, can I ask for the interest of the public, what were some of the questions or thoughts about the sustainability coordinator position?
Just as far as they were happy to see that it was, you know, the board approved it and that we were posting the position and, you know, who would the person report to and kind of what their functions would be, and kind of ran through all those, and it'll be, I think, a great addition to our team.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Gilbreth. All right. Now we are on to item 8, and these are the consent agenda items that were discussed at our work session. And there was a consensus that they would be voted on collectively as one unit. So I am putting the floor out for.
I make a motion, we accept the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, motion made by Ms. Hensley, seconded by Dr. Yeager. All in favor of approving all the items on the consent agenda, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
All right, all opposed, raise your hand high and say aye. No? Nay? Okay. Any abstentions? Okay. Did everyone vote? Okay. All right, now we are moving on to the business items that were up for individual vote. The first item is A, renaming the Cedar Shoals baseball field. I need a motion.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we suspend the rules so we can vote on naming the Cedar Shoals baseball field after Coach James Holston.
Okay. And we all understand why we are suspending the rules, or do we need some clarity around that? We're good? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. I need a second. All right, motion made by Mr. Evans and seconded by Ms. Davis. All in favor of approving the renaming of Cedar Shoals baseball field, raise your hand.
Excuse me, ma'am,
Oh,
we've got
sorry.
to vote to
Yes.
suspend the rules.
All in favor of suspending the rules to make a vote. Thank you for that clarity, Mr. Evans. I appreciate that. All in favor of suspending the rules to move forward with a vote, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes, and now the floor is open for another motion, if there is one. Okay, Mr. Evans?
I'd like to make a motion that we name the Cedar Shoals baseball field after Coach James Holston.
A second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Evans and seconded by Ms. Hensley. All in favor of renaming the Cedar Shoals baseball field after Coach James Holston?
Ma'am, there should be some discussion first, please.
Oh, yeah, the floor is open for discussion. I feel like we did a lot of that
Yeah.
already. but if anybody has any lingering thoughts, okay. So the motion is made and seconded. All in favor of approving the renaming of Cedar Shoals Baseball Field after Coach James Holston, please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Now we are moving forward to item
B.
Item B, yeah, I just wanted to look out at the floor and see what was going on. Now we are moving forward with item B, capital outlay application for the Gaines Elementary project. This, That's a great, thank you, that's a really good point, Ms. Davis. So for a point of clarity, Ms. Palmer, that line item on the agenda is not a renaming, it's a naming, right? Does that clarity need to be there? We'll just make that amendment? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Davis, for bringing that point up. The vote has been made, so I don't think anyone was unclear about what was happening. Okay. Okay, so we are now at item B, capital outlay application for Gaines Elementary project. Does anyone want to just kind of get everybody up to speed before a vote happens? Mr. Gilbreth, thank you.
It's actually a capital outlay application for fiscal year 27. There's 3 schools included, Gaines, Holston, and
Berks?
Yep, there you go, Berks. So Gaines qualifies for renovation money because it's 20 years old, so we qualify there through DOE. The other 2 schools are for roof replacement. So we have to make the application first before we let contracts out to do that, so that we can, then when we spend the money, we can submit the pay applications and get reimbursed for those amounts. So it is for fiscal year 27 for those 3 schools.
Okay. All right, are there any questions? Okay, so I'm waiting for a motion.
I'll make a motion for us to approve the capital outlay application for Gaines, Holston, and Berks.
Okay.
Second.
All right, that motion was made by Mr. Denson and seconded by Dr. Yeager. Any further discussion necessary? Ms. Davis?
Yes, so I see that on our information sheet, the evaluation worksheet, the contract is going to, I can't tell. Who won the contract on this one?
That's the next one. This is just asking the state to give us money for these 3 schools.
Oh, okay, so I'm ahead of myself.
You're ahead of yourself.
Please take note that I'm ahead of myself. I'll wait.
That's rare, Ms. Davis, so, happens to all of us sometimes. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. Are we ready for a vote?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor of approving the capital outlay application for Gaines, Holston, and Berks? Raise your hand high, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that is unanimous, and that motion passes. Okay, item C, stay right where you are. I think there'll be some questions here as well, is the construction renovation contract for Gaines Elementary. So before we have conversations, let's open the floor, see where the vote is.
Make a motion that we approve the contract,
Okay,
the construction renovation contract for Gaines Elementary, excuse me. I'm
I
sorry.
second it.
Second. Oh, you got it.
okay. Motion made by Mr. Evans, and I believe seconded by Dr. Yeager. Ms. Hensley. Okay, the floor is open for discussion. Any thoughts?
Ms. Davis?
So again, my question, looking at the scoring sheet, some broad disparity here, but who actually won this contract?
Grail Construction is our recommendation for this project. And they built Clark Middle School in addition to some other projects for us.
Okay. They scored very high. So what was the big difference in this? Because these are familiar names.
Yeah, the top 3 bids that came in were all within about 1 or 2% cost-wise. So we feel good from a scope standpoint that firm, the Grail, did have accurate numbers and have everything included in the project. There were 7 firms that requested pre-qualification. They submit a form to the architect. We look at their experience, their ability to do a job of this size, bonding capacity and such. 6 of those firms submitted proposals. Ms. Palmer, if you could pull up I think there was a bid tab breakdown that had everybody's prices, and I think we ranged from 12.8 million up to 16 million. So there was quite of a spread there. We scored the proposals, and Grail and Carol Daniels were the top 2 scorers, so we had them come in for interviews, interviewed the 2 firms, and scored them again, and we chose Grail for this project.
Love what they did at Clark Middle. So with this project, we have, what are we looking at for it being completed? And will the students stay in the school?
They will stay in the facility. We've added a 12 classroom modular unit beside the 6 classroom unit, which gives the school some flexibility to give us some space so we can renovate. We have a 1-year construction schedule. We've met with Ms. Nobles and her team, and we're gonna, lay out access to the playground. We're gonna keep the students to be able to get to the playground while also being able to build these spaces. So it's quite a lot of work going on over there, but we're shooting for a 1-year completion date. If you guys approve it tonight, we'll give them a notice to proceed. They start September 1st, and by August 1st, 2026, we should be done.
Excellent. Thank you.
Are there other questions? I'm interested, since there aren't any others, could you talk to us about any efforts that were made to comply with not comply, but to try to address some of the findings of the disparity study?
Of course. We've encouraged Grail to reach out for minority participation. We do have, when we did the warehouse contract, we had the concrete subcontractor, foundation sub, was a minority firm. And so we've teamed, get them together with Grail to look at potentially doing some work on this project as well. But we've encouraged them to reach out, and we will track and keep records of what our participation is, contract amounts and things like that, and I can report back to you on that.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, are there other questions from other board members? I'm going to circle back to Ms. Davis if no one else has any questions. Okay, Ms. Davis.
Apprenticeships, is that a possibility? Is that something that we've talked with them about?
Grail they've done a lot of sponsorships for us, but we can talk to them. The challenge that you have in a construction site, you pretty much got to be 18 or older, just because of some of the OSHA requirements, but there may be some opportunities we have, and we can definitely talk over with them, talk about it.
That would be awesome, and maybe we can talk to our Classic City High School as well as even the Career Academy.
Yeah.
So that would be amazing. Thank you.
Okay, so barring any other questions or comments, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor of approving the construction and renovation contract for Gaines Elementary, please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. Now we are at, stay where you are, Special Inspections Contract for Gaines Elementary Project.
So as part of a construction project, we hire a testing and inspection company to test the concrete, compaction, things like that, to make sure that we're building it in compliance with the contract drawings. We do this on all of our projects. So we put it out for bid. I think we had 7 firms that requested information. 2 firms submitted proposals, and we chose Nova Engineering to do the testing for us. They did the testing they're doing the testing on Cedar Shoals right now. So.
Okay, other questions? Oh, I do, sorry. I need a motion.
Go ahead.
I move that we approve the selection for the inspection contract to, what's the firm again?
Nova Engineering.
Nova Engineering, thank you.
Okay.
Second.
I'll second.
I think we had a second already. All right. Ms. Davis has made the motion, and it's seconded by Dr. Yeager. I think we had I asked for questions, but if you all have questions now, I'm happy to open the floor back up. Nope.
Well, again, I'm going to make the same request that we get, if we can have some apprenticeship happen with this company too. Again, I don't know that we have a construction pathway. I know that's something that we've talked about, and I know that's something that members of the community have wanted us to have at the Career Academy. So this would be perhaps a way to jumpstart that process. Even if we go to Athens Tech, they have one, so maybe we could have them join us in this as well as a partner.
I know Mr. Molina is going to be coming to Dr. Scott about that very thing, so we've already had that discussion.
I'm so happy. That's good. I need to go home now. This is.
All right. So we have a motion on the floor. I'll go ahead and call for vote. All in favor of approving the special inspections contract for Gaines Elementary project? Oh, okay. It was a long, it's a long title to approve. Okay, all in favor of approving the project, the contract? Raise your hand. Okay. All right, item D, 9D passes. And now we are at item E, and that is thank you, Mr. Gilbreth, for all of that. I know that was pretty hot and heavy in terms of the questions. All right, Advanced Care Partners. So this is a recommendation to approve a partnership with a staffing agency for children with special needs.
I move that we approve the Advanced Care Partners contract.
Okay. Now, I know it was pulled by someone, so let's get a second and then we can figure out.
I'll second.
Okay, that motion's made by Dr. Yeager, seconded by Ms. Hensley. So now the floor is open. Dr. Yeager, Ms. Hensley, do you have any thoughts before we move on to the whole floor? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and my, as I brought up during the work session, the main question was, why this wasn't a competitive contract, and since it wasn't, I was also curious when the last time it was, because I know it says it's a continuation.
Yes, so this is a continuation of services for a student that's medically fragile, and so this is for us nursing services for them. As far as a competitive contract, I think we contract with several different staffing agencies for positions that we either are not able to or have not been able to find candidates to apply for. So there are a variety that we use for various positions, primarily special education positions. In the past, I think the preference was to maintain relationships with multiple contracting agencies so that we have a greater variety or a greater pool of candidates to pull from to fill those positions versus going with one staffing agency. But in the past, what they've used is put that out there to multiple, and then they're able to send them candidates to consider, to interview before they actually do placements.
Okay. I think that definitely sounds like a better process, and mainly just because of staffing agencies for nursing and stuff like this. There are definitely local minority woman-owned agencies in the Athens area that do this kind of work. So I just know if we had it, that'd be one of those good areas where we could be broadening and diversifying our contracted partners.
Absolutely. Noted. Thank you.
Ms. Davis?
So I'm not familiar with how this actually works within the district. So is the staffing agency, where are the people homed? Is it for a specific child? Is it for a school? How does this work? Just not at a high level.
So it depends upon the position. So if it's for a specific child based upon what their IEP calls for and they need the one-to-one support, it goes to that child. Okay. If it's a position that the school has earned that they have not been able to fill and they're using a staffing agency, then they go to that school.
Okay, that helps me. Thank you.
All right. Are there questions? Additional thoughts? Okay, so there is a motion on the floor to approve Advanced Care Partners contract. I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the contract for Advanced Care Partners, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, so that is, did you check that, Ms. Palmer? Okay. All right, so that motion passes. Now we are at item F, personnel. We did not have an executive session, so I'm assuming that everyone's comfortable with a vote for our personnel report. So I need a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the personnel report as written.
Okay. I can't do anything without a second.
I'll second.
Okay. All right, there is a motion on the floor to approve the August Personnel Board report by Mr. Evans, seconded by Ms. Davis. We did not have executive session, so whatever comments we may have had are now dead and gone, so we're going to go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the August Personnel Board report, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All right, that motion passes. And now we are at item G, the Sustainability Coordinator job description.
I move that we approve the Sustainability Coordinator job description.
Second.
All right, that motion has been made by Dr. Yeager and seconded by Mr. Denson. Now the floor is open. Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns? Ms. Davis.
I'm excited about the position, and again, it seems to have narrowed itself in scope in the job description. So it looks like it's looking at environmental concerns initially. I don't see anything beyond other things that are sustainable as well. So is that the total scope of this position? Mostly environmental,
scope and
building, that kind of stuff. So they live in Mr. Gilbert's shop. Is that what that means?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That position will encompass all of that, so we'll be looking at a lot of the recommendations from the sustainability report to incorporate those, building systems that we're putting in, way to conserve energy, things like that, the electric buses, the solar, so that all that whole envelope will be part of that job description.
Waste.
Okay.
I'm sorry. So we accepted the sustainability report, right? Is that going to be the North Star that guides the work here?
Yes, that's a good starting point. I think we can improve on it. I think we can get focused. So it was very broad, it had a lot of recommendations, so I think we got to kind of go through it, prioritize, and then go from there.
So do we have an inventory of kind of where we are right now that says we are 10% sustainable, or?
I don't have an exact number, but I know we've already been doing the LED lights at all the new schools that we're renovating. We've instituted the solar, so we'll get some data on what that generates and what it costs. Same thing for electric buses. So, as far as a percentage of how sustainable we are, that's kind of hard to put a number on right now, but we can definitely, look to see what efforts, what happens with our efforts.
I'm feeling privileged to be on something at the beginning of something that we're starting. It's the beginning. And so for us to go down this pathway, excuse me, and not be able to kind of have our starting point and see how we're progressing, I think that's how we're going to actually change our attitudes across the board in terms of having everybody see this as a priority. I would love to see something that tells us that in the next few months, if we could at least have an inventory or something.
Well, we got to get the person on board first, and then we can start collecting that data and doing a scorecard and see where we are.
So we're going to give them a week
Ms.
or two to
Davis?
do it? Yeah,
Ms.
I'm kidding.
Yes. Let's let some other folks have an opportunity to speak, and then we'll circle back.
Sure. Why not?
Okay. Others?
Oh, I was just going to say that was the number one recommendation of the committee, was that we need someone who can help with the metrics so that we can both report our improvements, do the audit, and that that needs to happen, and that having the right person on board is the first step. So. And it's in the job description, develop and report the metrics.
Okay. Other thoughts from other members? Yes, Mr. Denson.
Yeah, I'm also just excited about this, and honestly, just like really appreciate staff and the whole administration and also the school board, like taking on like a pretty complex process, creating this ad hoc committee, creating this report, putting into the budget, following all the way through, and just like, I think just really successful way of implementing something that's a pretty difficult thing to do. And I think we took it on, and I'm very excited about seeing the actual fruit of it come out here in a really good process. So I appreciate, especially staff for really spending a lot of time on that.
Okay. Other thoughts? Okay. The only thought that no, it's not a question for you. So you're welcome to. The only thought that I had, and this is more operational, so it's just like, I'm just kind of going to word vomit because I don't think we have any authority over this, is to really kind of strategically think about the organizational structure and where this person is going to reside within the district. That's a pretty strong position that's going to sort of touch all of the different divisions and units across the school district, and you want that person to have the ear of the superintendent and to have sort of that position where they feel like there's movement that can be made based on their recommendations. So just kind of thinking through organizationally where that person is going to end up, I think is going to make a huge impact since this is a new position and there's not very many of these people in school districts across the state. So where they're positioned organizationally, I think is going to make a really big impact on the kind of change agent that they could be. So just food for thought. Okay.
I do have one thing.
Oh, yes, Ms. Hensley.
So I love everything here, but I'm going to go back to being consistent with our discriminatory language. If you go to the bottom of that contract, it's the same thing. We're not consistent on what we do not discriminate against. So I don't know if we can amend that language.
Yes.
Okay, and you see, because I'm trying to have a quick review, but I can't find it.
It's the policy of the Clark County School District
Oh, yes.
not to discriminate on the basis of age, sex, race, color, religion, national origin, marital status, disability, and that's not consistent with the policies that we talked about today, adding in sexual orientation and gender identity.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hensley, for that. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and let's go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the Sustainability Coordinator job description, please raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Ms. Bagby, would you like to let us know what your vote might be? Oh, you did? I'm sorry. I didn't see a hand raised. I am so sorry. Yeah, Mr. Evans and I will try to do a better job at monitoring the light. Are there points that you would like to make that we might have missed you on? I apologize for that. I just did not see, Mr. Evans nor I did not see the light on. Are there points that you wish to make? No, but I do have concerns because... Ma'am, could you turn your mic on? Thank you.
I do have concerns about some things because there's a microphone up here that was hidden underneath the desk near me, and since y'all have made some different changes when we have the meetings, executive meetings, and why is this microphone up here? And I have come in on more than one occasion, and a specific note has been up here for me. And also, I would like to know from Dr. Anderson and Attorney Pruitt, and the public needs to know too, because when I ran for this seat, I ran on transparency, public transparency. I ran on integrity and parental engagement and integrity and students' education and fair rights. And so the public needs to know that Dr. Anderson and Mr. Pruitt have sent me laws that said that I was, could be sent to prison or pay a fine, and they have not addressed this with me. And I want to, and the public needs to know, are y'all planning to do that to me? Because the accusations that was alleged and allegated and accused me is not true. So now, the public needs to know that. I don't like swords being held over my head. I don't like when I asked the word about macroaggression and I did not get a response. So the public needs to know what is going on. So why is this microphone up here under this desk when y'all have said that we're not supposed to have listening devices in the executive meetings and things of that nature? So I'm letting the public know that there are things going on, and I will not be intimidated, and I will not be humiliated, and I will not be bullied. And the public see that I get ignored up here on more than one occasion. So the public needs to know, are you and Mr. Pruitt planning on having me prosecuted about lies?
The only response that I have to that is all of our emails, all of our correspondences are open to public record. So you and any member of the public are welcome to submit a request using FOIA for all of our emails between you and I, between Attorney Pruitt and yourself, the three of us, any collection of people that you have communicated with is all open and subject to public scrutiny. So if you feel as though that is something that we have done to you, and I think you spoke specifically of Attorney Pruitt and myself, you are more than welcome to ask for open records requests, and the public is more than welcome to do that as well.
When you did
But
not
I am
respond
not,
to
I
my
am not.
emails and have blocked
Point of
me.
order, please. Point of order, please. This is a business meeting, one at a time, please.
My emails have been blocked to her. She also apologized in June that she had purposely if she had purposely, she said she had given out the information to get in touch with me incorrectly, so no one could get in touch with me, and she said she would correct it. And as of this week, I got something from someone because he said my information has been taken down off the website.
All right, thank you so much for your comments. I appreciate.
This is August.
I appreciate your concerns. And once again, I do not ignore emails. There are moments where I do not check it for a week or so, but I don't ignore them. You and I have corresponded multiple times. And again, any member of the public and yourself are welcome to invite the entire public to view and read and scrutinize all of the email communications that we have had with you. And in my opinion, there have been no threats at all made to you or your persons regarding imprisonment or otherwise. And just as a point of clarification, the microphones that are here because this is a public meeting. But when we have, yes, and Ms. Davis is, anyone up here is welcome to have a microphone to record. It is a publicly recorded because this is a public, ma'am, could you all, no, can you please all turn off your mics, please? Because there's feedback happening. This is a public meeting, and anyone is welcome to record in any capacity, on their phones, using a microphone, using a recording device. This is a public meeting. Anyone can record. What you are referring to, however, is executive session. And we did implement a policy in executive session where we walk in and we put our phones away from ourselves to avoid the possibility of recordings happening in executive session. Because by law, by state law, executive session is private and not open to public participation or scrutiny. So that is why that policy is implemented for executive session, but does not follow in this public space. So Ms. Davis having a microphone does not violate our state our state law that we have open meetings to the public and then private meetings for executive
Hidden on the floor
discussion.
by my foot.
Ma'am, I'm gonna ask that we end this conversation now. This is not healthy for our board meeting. We can have this conversation at a separate time. Nope, we're done. We are done. We're done.
I can speak, I found this on the floor is all I'm saying. It was lying here. I don't know if it's for amplification or what.
But that shouldn't
I found it,
matter.
and that's all
But
it
that
is.
should, again, that shouldn't matter. You are allowed to.
Are you and Mr.
we
Pruitt
are all-
prosecuting me?
We are done.
Point of order, please. Could we please return to the agenda? Thank
Okay,
you.
now we are at item H, and this is to approve to authorize the president and vice president to negotiate with GSBA for the superintendent search.
I move that we approve item H, approval to authorize working with GSBA.
Second.
Okay, that motion is made by Dr. Yeager and seconded by Ms. Davis. The floor is open. Mr. Denson?
Thank you. We received that presentation from GSBA in June about their superintendent search services. As I said in the work session, I think that they showed that they are very competent at this and understand the Georgia legal laws around selecting a superintendent and ensuring that we do it in a transparent and engaging way that engages with the community as we go through it. And I'm excited about doing this and ensuring that we select a great candidate.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bagby, your microphone light is on. Do you have a comment or question? Okay, others? Okay, so there is a motion on the floor. I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor of approving the authorization for Mr. Evans and myself to move forward with negotiating with GSBA for a superintendent search, raise your hand high and say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, so that motion passes, and Ms. Palmer, I think you got the count, right? Okay. And now we are at item 10, and this is information items. Our first is Early Head Start Policy Council meeting minutes and reports. Have there been any meetings this year? I mean, we're a week in. Mr. Denson?
Yeah, the reports that are attached to the agenda are from the
That's right, yeah.
March, I think, yeah, March and April, I think it is. And those were the meetings where they went over our 5-year goal and plan and reported back progress, and we had progress was made in every single goal area, which was very exciting. And we also, another important part in the April was that the council passed the continuation application, which this body then voted on in May and approved. And so, yeah, and we're meeting next Tuesday for the next meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Denson. And then we have Envision Athens here, but there's nothing inside of the
Yeah, we took the summer off like this did, but we're actually meeting. I'm going to have a busy week next week. We're meeting next Thursday for our meetings. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I think that wraps it up with all of our agenda items. And now we are at item 11, a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
That's Ms. Davis's. You got a second, Ms. Davis. All right, that motion's been made by Ms. Hensley, seconded by Ms. Davis. All in favor of adjourning? Raise your hand high, say aye. Aye. All right, I'll see you guys next month. Thank you so much, everyone.